What is the most complex trigger in the game? Some might say it's the move trigger, in which they're wrong. Some might say it's the spawn trigger, which you're getting warmer. These three things right here. The three horsemen of if you don't know how if statements work or comparisons work, you are never using these triggers. But as your boy Souls here is here to conquer the 2.2 editor, I look at these triggers and I go, no, I ain't afraid. Okay, I'm a little afraid. Let's just... Alright, what's up guys? It's your boy Souls here, and welcome back to Geometry to the Dizzle Dash, you already know. Today, we are going to finally learn how to use these three items here. And technically, I already know how to use this one, I believe. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Here is an unreleased platformer level that was going to be a level I was going to release before Brimstone Temple, but it kind of got a little crazy, to say the least. Got a little crazy. I'll do like a quick little playthrough of the level since I haven't shown it off anywhere. It has like a dialogue system and all of that. It has a lot. It has a lot. As you can see, the inner depths. Whoa! And it looks really cool, right? But if I die, it doesn't spawn again. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And this level in general, it's an okay platformer level. I just haven't gone back to it. I do plan on going back to this level. It just takes a little bit of effort to get through, but I like the aesthetic of it. Like as you can see, the bat flew off with the key, so you gotta fly off after the key. You know, got little animations here and there. This is one of my first platformer levels that I started building when 2.2 first released. You know, got little details here and there. I wanted to give it like a Dark Souls-ish aesthetic, or a Dark Dungeon type of aesthetic. Hence why you're like in this dark and gray and dungeon and whatnot. And I guess I'll show you the next part since I'm showing off the level apparently. But you can go in here, but you can't because you need a key, right? So we gotta go all the way back. If you want to explore, I wanted this level to be based off of exploration, right? So if you go over here, let that go down. See, there's a blue key, you know what I'm saying? Exploration. And now that I collected that key, I can go over here, and I can enter here. And then boom, look at that, look at that. And then I get to this guy, right? Look at that, look at this, look at this. I made dialogue. A curious fellow, eh? As you can see, I'm in quite the bind. Free me, and I will reward you well. The key is deeper within this prison. Be wary of the bats from here. Be wary, the bats here are quite aggressive. Yeah, all that dialogue and stuff. You know, it's one of my favorite platformer mechanics that I've made so far. I actually do really want to go back to this level. I just have a couple of levels I need to build first before coming back to it. Well, unless you guys want to see this level. The point of this video is to master these three items. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So first things first, we are going to be starting with item comparison. Now, item comp, essentially what it does, when you look at this, you're going, oh my god, what is all this? Do not be alarmed, do not be afraid. Essentially what this trigger does is that it compares two items to each other. And the items that can be compared are either an item ID, the timer, the amount of points you make, the time, and the number of attempts, in which RobTop forgot to put attempts here because this is definitely supposed to be attempts and not a secondary time. So RobTop, if you're seeing this video, you messed up 2.2, throw the whole update in the garbage. So essentially, let's just have this right here, and we have it in platformer mode, that way it's like a little bit easier to understand. And I'm also gonna have it as a touch trigger and a multi-trigger, and I'll have like a little block for the comparison, and I'll even label it. All right, so we're a robot, right? And we're learning all this together. Boom. So right now, it does nothing, because it's not comparing anything, and it's not doing anything, okay? So let's actually make this thing do something, right? Let's say I want to post the background two different colors. I want to post the background red, or I want it to post green, right? And I'll label this to make it easy. So the red is going to be 1, so this is going to be 1, item 1, and then the green is going to be item 2. 12, item 2. Not 2D, it's not 2D! Starting with the red background, we're gonna put the red background pulse in a group. So it's gonna be in group 1, and then the green pulse, right here, the green pulse, stick with me now, stick with me, is gonna be in group 2. Now after that, what you wanna do is you want to link these to a spawn trigger, okay? What do I mean by this? Well, allow me to show you, right? Because we're still not comparing any items right now. We can't compare red to green. Like that makes no sense. That makes no sense, okay? We're actually going to be doing this based off of the item IDs count. What I mean by this is I'm going to go and find this little 0 right here. Basically, what this little 0 does, it keeps track of a lot of things, right? In our case, it's going to keep track of the item ID only. So just points, right? So whenever a number goes up, it'll be tracking that. So we're gonna have this as item ID 1. This is linked to this right here. It's not doing anything right now, but it's going to be linked to it. You'll see what I mean. And when I copy paste it, this one is going to be based off of item ID 2. So green is item ID 2, red is item ID 1. Now what we're going to do, now that we have a visual representation, we are going to put a pickup trigger, right? So essentially what the pickup trigger does, it increases this amount whenever you pass this trigger or do something to activate this trigger. So allow me to show you. I'm gonna go to edit object. You see item ID, and we can set a count. All right, count means number 1, number 2, number 3. It's counting. All right, can you understand? Do you understand math? Item ID 1, right? Item ID 1, and we're also gonna put a block here. So we're gonna make this touch triggered and multi triggered. So it's a Mario block. So right now, it's not doing anything. Right? It's not doing anything. Okay, that's because I haven't set a count for it. Now, when I put count 1, right? Every time I touch this trigger, item ID 1 goes up by 1. If I touch it again, it's 2. If I touch it again, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? See, do you see it? Do you see it? Now, some of you, if you guys have been paying attention in math class, you'll understand what I'm about to compare, right? So I'm gonna copy paste this. I'm copy pasting, and I'm gonna put this item, pickup item right here as item ID number 2. It's still gonna have the same count. It's still gonna have the same count. Are you still with me? Are you still with me? We haven't touched anything with the item comparison yet. We're just setting this up real quick, all right? So item ID 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And item ID 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 6, 7, 7. Now we are going to go into item comparison. I don't know why I sound like Joe Swanson for a second. This is where item ID 1 comes in. See, it's coming together now, isn't it? Item ID number 1 and item ID number 2. So we're gonna click on item 1, item and item. So this is what we're gonna be counting on. Item ID number 1, item number 2, right? So right now, we're testing to see if 1 is equal to 2, right? Oh, we also gotta set a true ID first. This item right here, so the background that's pulsing red, this is in group ID number 1, okay? This is what we'll know as false. This is what I'm gonna put as false, okay? We are going to put that in the false ID. So if this statement here is not true, that means it's false. That means it activates this, okay? So if somebody tells a lie, if they lie to you, that's where you're gonna do this right here. If it's a lie, you put it right here. But if it's the truth, you put it right here, which is green, right? Green is the truth. Green is the truth. That's why it's in group ID number 2. Why it's true. That's why it's true. So we're activating the green pulse when it's true, right? This adds variance to it, but we're not going to touch this right now. We're not going to touch it. Not going to touch it. So right now, the statement is item ID number 1 equal to item number 2, right? That's all this is right now. If it's true, it's going to pulse green. See? It's true. But now, the item ID number 1 is that number 1. It's false. See? I'm comparing the two items here. I'm comparing these two items here. Let me get this music out of here, bro. What artist did Rob Top add recently? The T Mark? Yeah, Pelosi. Yeah, that's a vibe. So as you can see, when you compare it, these two items are equal to each other. But as soon as I increase this one, it's false. As soon as I increase that one, it's true. All right. So what else can we do with this? Oh, can we only do it as equal? No, there's actually multiple things you can do with this, right? So say for instance, I want, let's try this, right? If I click on this equal sign, is item ID number 1 greater than item ID number 2. That's what this statement means. If you've been paying attention to math class, so we are checking to see if item ID number 1 is bigger than item ID number 2. Okay, keep in mind, item ID number 1 is right here. Item ID number 2 is right here. Okay, we're gonna see if this number is bigger than this one. Okay, so if I were to click this, it's false because these are the same amount, right? They're both 0. That's why it's false. Now, if I were to increase item ID number 1 to 2, it's true because item ID number 1 is now bigger than item ID number 2. Okay, you see what I mean? I'm comparing the two items to each other. That's what I'm doing. So say for instance, right, we're gonna do some more comparison. So you notice that there's two like modifiers right here, right? As some of y'all may have noticed, when this was at 1, it doesn't mean anything, right? That's because these little dots right here, these are multiplication signs. But Souls, the multiplication sign is the letter X. Well, once you get out of elementary school, then come back to this video. These items right here mean multiplication. So essentially, this is 1, well, whatever the item ID number is, times 1, right? So keep in mind, when we're increasing the item ID, it's going up by 1. What's 1 times 1? It's 1. What's 1 divided by 1? It's still 1. But what's 1 plus 1? You see what I'm saying? You got a different number now. So now with whatever the number of item ID number 1 is, plus 1. So item 1 plus 1, that equals 2. All right? That's what this statement is looking at first. Read it from left to right. Now, we're comparing item ID 1 plus 1 and seeing if it's equal to 2. Alright, so we'll start off with this. Now, this is where the math really starts coming in with the geometry dash, okay? So I'm gonna need y'all to stick with me, okay? It's plus 1, so think of this as already 1, right? So we're just gonna put a plus 1 right next. So right now, item ID number 1 is 0, and item ID number 2 is 0. However, comma, we have a plus 1 right here. So this is actually 1 instead of 0 right now, okay? Are you following me? Because we add 1 first to item ID number 1. So this is actually comparing 1 to 0. Are they equal to each other? No, of course not, because 1 does not equal 0 in this universe, okay? Who is this singer in my ear? What song did I choose? Is this gonna get me copyrighted? If I were to increase item ID number 2 to 1, now they're equal to each other. Look at that, baby. We're comparing items today. Essentially, what all these buttons down here do, they increase the complexity of what you want, right? So say for instance, you don't want it to be just plus 1. What if you want it to be plus 1,000? I don't know if I can do 1,000 actually. Oh, I can do 1,000. So right now, this is 1 plus 1,000 right here. 1 plus 1,000. So every time you hit item compare, they're not equal to each other, right? Because even if I increase this all the way to like 10, right? It's still not equal to each other. Right? Because I'm adding 1,000 points or 1,000 item ID points, right? To item ID number 1. That's not equal. That's not equal to each other anymore. However, comma, if I were to put this to 1,000 and just add it, not multiply it, watch this. They're equal to each other. Ignore that because that doesn't exist anymore, right? So right now, once I add 1,000 to both item IDs, they're now equal to each other. Look at that. And essentially, that's what item comparison does. It compares two items to each other, and it doesn't have to be just the item IDs. You can compare the item ID with a timer. You can compare timers, you can compare points, you can compare the time you spend in the level. You can even do it with attempts, right? There's so many things you can compare, but for practice, only use item ID just to practice until you get the hang of what all these points do. But you can't really compare points since this is a single player game. So what I'm hoping for in versus mode is when you get points, it can be based off of the player collecting it rather than the level getting it, right? So let's just say I wanted to assign this to player number 1 and assign this one to player number 2, hence why points are always going up. So for instance, right, if I see, look at that, I have 30 points, right? Even though these have two different item IDs, they still go up because this is keeping track of the player's points right here. I wish we could split this from player 1 and player 2. Oh, and I guess I should do a quick little math lesson. this means equal to, this means greater than, this means greater than or equal to, or equal to, this means less than, this means less than or equal to, this means not equal to. This is what this means. It means it's not equal to this. It's not equal to it, right? This means equal again. If you paid attention in math, all these symbols look familiar to you. TOL allows the result to be off by a certain amount. Okay, so we'll allow item ID 1 to be a little bit off from item ID 2. So we'll have it as points, right? So say for instance, right? Say for instance, I want to compare these two items to each other, right? We are seeing if item ID 1 is greater than or equal to item ID number 2. But we're giving a little bit of leeway, so we're going to increase this by 1. So let's say if I increase this one by 1, right? See what I mean? Even though item ID 2 is greater than item ID number 1, it makes it equal because I allowed it to be either plus by 1 equal or minus 1 by equal. Hence why the plus and minus right here, the pulsu and minu, you get some leeway by 1. This is where it starts getting really confusing. You can add different types of variables. And as you notice with these little NAs right here, you can have R&D, which I know this means floor value, so the lowest amount. And then of course ceiling, and of course there's ceiling, so the highest amount. So if you're doing like multiplication, division, etc., that's what these do, right? And these items right here, these where you can get absolute value and you can make it into a negative number. So this is negative ID number 1. You can really get in your bag when comparing items right here. So essentially, if you are new to comparing items, only stick with item ID number 1, item ID number 2, and true ID and false ID. Practice with these first, then go on to the extra modifiers to make this really go in your bag, okay? So that one trigger alone took like 30 minutes to explain. Now we're going to item edits. Now what item edit does is that it edits the item of a certain group ID. Well, we're going to need more item ID blocks to work with. So we're gonna get you, we're gonna put you in item ID 3, and you are going to be in item ID number 4. And we're also going to make this touch trigger again because it's easier to demonstrate, but this also works in classic mode. There's multiple ways you can use these triggers, right? So let's say for instance, right, I'd edit item ID right here. And we're also going to go ahead and set up our little things here. So this one's going to be set for item ID number 3. And this one's going to be set for item ID number 4. And of course you can multiply, divide, etc., right? But we're not going to multiply or divide or anything like that right now. So with this one, now that we have our two items that are going to be added with each other, we're actually going to be needing a third of these little zeros that I got from the triggers tab right here. We're going to need a third one. This one is going to be item ID number 5. You are going to see why I'm doing this in just a second, right? That's the whole point of this trigger. It's editing stuff, okay? So when I go to edit item, you get a similar page to what we saw with the item comparison. So we're going to go ahead and assign item ID number 3 and item ID number 4, and we're going to be connecting them together, right? And we can also modify it as well, but right now to keep it simple, we can keep it at 0. Well, keep it at 1 rather. Keep it at 1. So no modifications at all, right? And now we got to select a target item ID, which is going to be item ID number 5, right? So essentially, this is what you're going to see until you have a target item ID. So the target, I'm just going to label this so I can be a good professor. So the target that we're changing, so this is the this is a number that we're changing right here. We're changing item ID number 5 right here. Right here, this is the number that's getting changed. So we're going to go back to edit object, target item ID. Are you following me? Target item ID is going to be 5, and watch the magic happen. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so now we're really getting into variables. We're getting into variables, and this is why 2.2 is one of the coolest updates in the entire game. You can program in Geometry Dash. With this statement at the bottom, and we're also gonna make this multi-triggered as well. At the statement right here, item ID number 5 is equal to item ID number 3 and 4. This is where the edit comes in, right? So right now, item ID number 3 and item ID number 4 is equal to 0. So when I press this, it stays at 0, right? But let's say, for instance, item ID number 5, let's just say, I don't know, we'll put a count trigger here, right? Item ID number 5, and number, it's gonna be 10, right? So we're gonna make this stud trigger just for an example. So right now, item ID number 5, the item that this is the target right now, right? This is what we're focusing on. That's the target. That's the main mission right there. It is equal to 10. And right now, item ID number 3 is equal to 0. Can you not speak while I'm giving my, if we add 0 and 0 together, it's going to equal 0. So when I hit item edit, item number 5 is going to equal 0, okay? Because we're adding these two numbers right now in this item comparison item, not item edit, right? I'll show you what I mean. So as soon as I press this, now I5 is equal to 0. But why is I5 equal to 0, souls? Well, if we actually look inside the item edit object, because it's editing this object right here, it's editing this item ID, it edits it to I3 plus I4. Item ID number 3 plus item ID number 4 is what 5 is going to be equal to. And if you are a programmer, you are probably going ballistic right now, and you're going straight to your professor and saying, we're changing all of our programming languages from Java and Python to Geometry Dash. So right now we have equal, plus, multiplication, etc., right? So what happens if I click on the equal sign? What? Wait, whoa, what the? Huh? Oh, okay, I get it. If I were to click on this, which I'm actually just now discovering this. So we actually going to be comparing the item itself, I5 plus 3 is equal to I5. We're actually not going to touch that yet, because that becomes a very complex math equation if I do it like that, right? All right, so we're just going to keep it simple, right? We're just going to multiply item ID number 3 with item ID number 4, right? When you multiply 3 by 0, it's going to equal 0, right? So no matter what, it's going to equal 0. So if I increase this to 7, it multiplies 7 times 0, it's still 0, right? However, comma, if I were to multiply 7 by 2, it equals 14. And ladies and gentlemen, you just made a calculator. Look at that. You just made a calculator. Look at that. I'm calculating. What's 14 times 14? 196. What's 16 times 14? 224. And you can do this as much as you want. You can do this literally as much as you want. Look at that. 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 And here's the thing. If this is taking too long for you, well, you can just increase the pickup item. So instead of count being 1, we can make this 20. And we can make this 20 as well. We're going to keep it equal to make it easy for us, right? So right now, item ID number 3 is equal to 20. And now item ID number 4 is equal to 20. If I were to multiply those together, it's 400. And I can do this as much as I want. I can do this as much as I want. Look at that. Look, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Cuz, like, look at this. Look at this. Look at it. Look, are you serious? And it's not even just with item IDs. You can do this with timer. You can do this with the points. You can do this with main time. You can do this with attempts. It can get a little nasty. And of course, you guys already seen these before with the floor, ceiling. I think that means round, actually. Look at this, dude. Look at it. Look at how complex you can make this math equation. Are you all serious? This is a math equation in Geometry Dash. So you get the absolute value of the rounded number that is the item that you're comparing, plus the absolute value of the floor value of item number 3 and item ID number 4. You see how complex you can make this? Timer, you can do this with points. Look, it goes off the screen. It goes outside the box. So to keep it simple, to practice with item edit, simply start with item ID number 1 and item ID number 2 and the target item right here, and stick with this. Just practice with this first, and then you'll get the hang of this trigger. Last but not least, we now have item persistence. But item persistence, right? It's persistent, okay? So right here, it lets you set an item ID to be persistent. And as you may have known, we have been working with item IDs ever since we've been entering this editor, okay? So this means it does not reset upon a player's death, but only on a level exit. But if I think of something, right? If I divide something by 0 and I make that persistent, can I crash the game? All right, so let's say for instance, right? Say for instance, you want to build a Super Mario level, right? And you don't want to lose all of your coins because that would suck. That would suck, right? To lose all your coins, that would really suck, right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and put down my item persistence right here. This is going to be our counter, okay? And this is going to be our deathbed right here, our deathbed companion. So say for example, we collect, I don't know, we're going to collect 1 coin. That looks like a Skittle, but we're keeping that because I like Skittles, right? So this Skittle is our collectible. We're going to edit special, and we're going to put as pickup item number 1, and we're going to put this as item ID number 6, okay? Think of this collectible as the exact same thing as the pickup trigger right here that we've been working with. Think of it like that, okay? So say for instance, right, I collect this item right here, but I did not press persistence, okay? So I jump in there, I lost my points. See, I'm losing my points. Look, I am a broke boy. I'm broke. See, I got 10 right here. I'm dead, and I don't keep it. However, if I were to collect all these, so 15 items, 15 points, right? If I were to hit persistence and I die, it didn't work. Oh, now you want to work. Now you want to work. You jerk. Okay, so apparently I wasn't even touching the trigger itself, hence why it wasn't even working. I collect 10 coins. I collected 10 coins, okay? But I want to keep those 10 coins. That's where the persistent item comes in. So when I die, I keep my 10 coins. So I don't lose them. It doesn't reset. It doesn't reset. So persistent. I die. I keep my 25 coins. Persistent. I keep my coins, right? But say for instance, hey, I want those to eventually go back to 0. Well, you can copy paste this and hit reset. Bop, 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 bop. I got 9 points. I want to keep my 9 points. Boom. I kept my 9 coins, okay? I kept my 9 coins. All right, you see what I mean? But if I reset that, it goes back to 0. So now I lost all my points. Now I got to start back over, right? So you can probably do this with lives. So if you run out of lives or run out of time or something, it can reset your points. This is completely optional, but hey, it's there though. It's there though. And I think that is going to be it for me, ladies and gentlemen. What I'll probably do is upload this tutorial onto my Extra Souls account in case you want to like copy paste these and put them in your own levels and whatnot. This is just a small little demonstration of what you can do with the item comparison items right here, because I've been looking around the community and these are one of the most confusing triggers for a lot of people. So hopefully this tutorial will help you guys out a little bit. So anyways guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more. It's been your boy Souls here, and I will see you guys next time. Later. And next time we meet, it might be below 0.